the approach I have here is really the same way that I would do it in the gym if I were doing weights. So taking that same approach with exercise selection, sets, reps. So really it's very familiar once you dig into it. It's just with bands instead of weights. So we'll go through, I'll show you what I was doing here. This was my actual workout, my actual chest workout on the beach. We'll go through and I'll explain my reasoning for each of the exercises that I picked and why I did them and how I did them.
No fake shit against me shall prosper. Yes, I came, I saw.
All right, so this is an absolute new format. Kind of going with the same theme of our sitting down, discussing things, but now we're getting back to what pays the bills, the training stuff, the training footage and everything, but we're putting a complete new twist on it. What we'll be doing is your complete band workout, which we've explained last week. If you go to youtube.com/JamesGrage, you can see our introductory video, as it were, where I was sitting down asking a lot of questions about bands. And after sitting there filming you, brother, I got more questions because I'm still, and I wasn't the only one.
It's hard for them to picture bands and say, okay, I get it. I know what to do with them. I always say that a lot of times people will buy bands. They're intrigued by bands. So they'll go online and they'll buy some. They get delivered to their house. They open up. They're excited and they dump them on the counter and say, well, now what? Right. So last week in our video, we talked about the benefits of bands. We compared free weights to bands and some of the advantages that bands have. But the questions that people still had is, how do I use them?
Right.
So, you followed me over to the beach where I've been working out lately.
Yep.
We went over there Friday afternoon and I did a chest workout. And so we've got that footage here.
All right, let's roll and watch some of this. We're going to give some feedback.
So doing a push-up here. Now, even though I'm in the decline, this is mimicking an incline press. So working on upper chest here. So my first superset, and that's what I did here, is I paired up different exercises for supersets. So that's what I'm focusing on at first, is working upper chest. And even if I were in the gym doing weights, I would still focus the same way or break my workout down the same way. And usually what I try to do is focus on my weakest areas first. So for me, weaker area of chest is upper chest. For most people, it is. So I started with the push-ups, went ahead and cranked out about 30 of them there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to anchor this band. You'll see there is a bar here that people come over and do push-ups on. So went ahead and anchored it there, and I'm going to do a single arm press. But again, this is in an inclined position. So everything that I'm doing, the superset combination, focusing on upper chest. One of the things that's important is you notice at the back of the range of motion, I'll pause it right there. Even in that position, the way I've angled my body is so I feel a good stretch in my chest. It'd be like if you were doing dumbbell presses. You want to feel that stretch in the bottom. So really depending on how you angle your body is really important. If I were to go ahead and turn my shoulder away, I'm not going to feel that stretch in my chest. And so that's why I kind of angled my body into it where I can feel that nice stretch in the back. And then I'm not just pressing straight forward. I want to go ahead and I want to push more towards the center. Okay. Because that's what your chest does, is it pulls your arm across your body. So this would be the same thing if you were doing, say, dumbbells, and instead of pressing straight up, if you want to press to the center. The only downside is when you press to the center with dumbbells, you really aren't getting a whole lot more resistance there in the middle.
Right, and I think from the first video, that was the main thing, was that constant tension, the resistance, and like you just said, the range of motion.
Well, and the bigger thing here, you notice it's the plane that we're working on. So this is more of a horizontal plane. Now, when you're doing traditional weight training and you want to do chest, what's the first thing you look for? A bench, right? Because you got to press everything against gravity. So bands aren't just replacing your resistance. So in other words, they're not just replacing your barbells or your dumbbells. It also gives me the flexibility where I don't need a bench anymore. So that's one of the real advantages. So make sure you stretch at the back, and then again, it's pushing to the center, but also pushing up.
Right.
Just like I do in my normal weight training routines, I like to pick a weight for my first set where I can get about 15 good reps. I'm focusing on that mind-muscle connection,
right,
just like I normally would. So nice controlled concentric and eccentric. So the squeeze and the negative, nice and controlled, normal rep speed. So it's about the same rep speed on this first set that I would use if I was doing free weights.
Right. So one question I do have, you're doing this. If you were doing a dumbbell chest incline, you're not going to be doing it one at a time. You're doing them both, at the same time. Why would you not do the same thing here and just go with maybe 2 bands and push them? Is that a reason, or is
It goes back to what we just talked about in the beginning, angle of your body and being able to get that nice stretch. So in other words, being able to feel that tension in the muscle all the way through the range of motion. If I were to stand completely perpendicular to the band, then like you said, I could do 2 at a time. And I could if I anchored them from different positions. So if I took a much wider position where I anchored them, and that way I can still press to the center, that would still work. But it really just depends on what kind of flexibility you have with anchoring these. So
what's the rest time in between them?
I don't like to rest. I like to move through my workout as quick as possible. Keep that intensity up. My reasoning for that, one, I don't have the time to waste. I don't want to sit there and, turn a 45-minute workout into an hour and a half for no reason.
Right.
I want to get in. I want to get out. 2, it also helps me keep my heart rate elevated the whole time, so I'm also burning more calories in the process. The more calories I can burn during my workout, the less cardio I have to do. I don't really enjoy doing a lot of cardio, and so I'm not just trying to build muscle, I'm trying to stay lean as well.
How many total sets will you do of each exercise? I know you did the same for each one. I think it was 3 or 4. I believe it was 4 total for each exercise, but...
So what I like to focus on is same thing I do in the gym. Again, keeping everything very familiar. It's what you would do in a gym. It's just bringing out into an outdoor setting, but using bands instead of benches and bars and dumbbells. So I like 4 total sets, but the reason I like to do it is because on the 4th one, I do something different with the rep speed, and we'll actually see that here in a second.
Right now,
All right, so finished up push-ups. This is my 4th and final set of these. So what I'm going to do here is take advantage of something that you can't really do with free weights, and that's do more explosive movements. And the reason why it's difficult to do with free weights is once you set a weight in motion, you have momentum in your favor. So it's really difficult to do that kind of training with free weights. With bands, momentum never ever works in your favor, so you can do more explosive movements. I like to analogize it to sprinting, right? So if the other workouts were going for a nice jog, this is time to sprint.
You're opening it up.
So we're going back and we're just, really doing it as quickly as you can, nice explosive movements. You see right here.
Let's check it out.
It looks a little silly because people aren't used to this.
I did notice that after these sets, these were your most intense sets. Everything else was just kind of leading up to just letting it all go right here.
We talked about this last week, your fast twitch muscle fibers. So those are your type 2 muscle fibers. Your fast twitch muscle fibers are the ones that make you jump higher, run faster. Those also are the muscle fibers that also have a propensity to get bigger. So this is a way to really train that muscle fiber in a different way. So I'll go through and I'll do 3 regular sets. The first one is lighter, a little bit lighter, nice warm up. But still, it's a working set. I push myself same way that I do in the gym. So that same concept that I do, the 20, 10, 10, 15, going for a similar concept here.
Scale down a little bit just for the band use or whatever.
Well, it's just modified. So on that last set, instead of just going back to my original weight and doing it for as many as I can, I'm going back to my original weight and just doing it explosively.
So the question I have in this last, because I know this is the world's first band strength training program.
Well, it's not the first, but yeah.
Right. But in our universe, it's the first time we're actually doing something like this.
First time we're talking about
Right. And the question I have is when you do that fast exercise, like you're talking about those fast twitch getting bigger, I would think that it's more of a cardio thing, that you're burning the fat or burning the muscle by doing that.
No, because it's such a short burst. Look at the quads and hamstrings on a sprinter.
Right.
They're not small.
Gotcha.
They're not small. So this is just a really short burst here, although it will get your heart rate up really quick. And we were talking about the fat burning benefits. this is a variation of HIIT training in a way, because all HIIT training is high intensity interval training. So those sets right there are high intensity. So they're going to elevate your heart rate. Then some of the other things that I'm doing maybe a little bit lower intensity. So I'm still getting the benefits of that HIIT training there.
I think the analogy that you compared to running for a little distance and then sprinting, 100 yards.
Yeah, it's a jog, then a sprint, a jog, then a sprint.
Gotcha. So I think
you can tell I'm breathing heavy right there. That last one got me.
Yeah, and I just remember not a lot of pausing or breaking. We were already on to the next thing. Do you remember what the second exercise was? Oh,
Yep, right here. So jumping right into this. So there was a pull-up bar there. So you can see that went ahead and anchored them at the bottom. And what I'm going to do here is this is almost like a cable fly, but I'm coming from a lower position. So instead of coming over the top like this, I'm coming up from underneath.
What specific part of the chest are you targeting with this? This is
going to develop the whole chest.
Right.
I also feel this one. I feel a nice solid contraction in my upper chest with this as well, just because of the angle. Mm-hmm. But just like the other exercise that we talked about, it's that same kind of rep speed that you would have in the gym with either a machine or with free weights. So it's the same thing. So coming in here, doing this fly, you can tell I'm almost hitting failure right there. And that's a really hard contraction as we get to the top right there.
Yep.
Look at that. See, still squeezing out more. And that's that difference between,
leaving the last 3 up there and not feeling it.
Exactly. So these I went ahead and I supersetted with a push-up on the bar here, and you can see that I've got the green band over my back to add resistance. So this would be the same as doing a decline press. So before I had my feet kicked up, which mimics an incline press. So even though I'm on a decline,
right, so
mimics an incline
on
press
the
for upper
push-ups,
chest.
it's the reverse.
It's the reverse.
Gotcha.
So here, going to go ahead and focus a little bit more on the lower chest and then using the bands as added resistance. So these push-ups, all of a sudden, 10 push-ups with that green band gets pretty tough, especially by the time we're already at this point 3 exercises
Yeah,
in.
so at this point, how are you feeling? What's going through your head a little bit?
So at this point, my chest is already feeling fatigued. I've already got a good pump at this point, feeling good, solid contractions. As a matter of fact, people ask me the difference between bands and free weights. I feel a better contraction with bands than I do in free weights.
I love that beach, by the way.
Oh, it's a great place to hang out. I mean, look, let's talk about it for a second. That's one of the real advantages of bands is you can take advantage of the nice weather or just have that flexibility in general to train wherever you want to train. And so here, November, out on the beach in Florida, the weather's beautiful. I think right here, this was a cooler day. It was a little bit windy, but it was still probably 80 degrees.
Yeah, it was just right around that, and we're kind of bragging right now, but I mean, dude, it was a pleasure. You can tell right around this 8 or 9 range, you're killing it. Most people, I'll say myself, would have just kind of maybe gotten a couple more, but you're taking it to that uncomfortable feeling.
Well,
at that point.
That's what you got to go for. You've got to embrace uncomfortable, right? You hear people talking about, they love the burn, they love the pump, and you start chasing that because you know that results come from those moments when you're really uncomfortable and then having the ability to push yourself past that. And it's the same with everything in life. Look, we spent a lot of time talking about motivation and success and what are some of those habits or those skills to achieve your goals. And that's a big one right there, that ability to push yourself out of your comfort zone.
And I can tell we didn't talk about this, but one of the advantages also to bands is you can kind of push yourself a little bit more without worrying about getting injured with the weights and kind of things like that. Like I see here, You can take it to the absolute limit. When you're working out by yourself with dumbbells or something and you're trying to take it to that, absolute max, so there could be a lot of problems there.
Well, here's one of the real advantages of bands. You train some of those stabilizer muscles that you don't normally train when you're training with free weights. So let's say that we're out there, we're doing bench press. You're primarily working your pecs, you're working your anterior deltoids, so the front of your shoulder, and you're working your triceps. You're not really working those stabilizer muscles as much. And so the bigger, more powerful muscles grow disproportionately strong compared to those stabilizer muscles. And that's where a lot of people get injured. So now let's say if I'm doing shoulder press with bands, I'm not just pressing up. I'm having to stabilize that band. It wants to pull my arm back. It wants to pull my arm forward. It wants to pull my hands in all kinds of crazy directions.
You're working with more than just gravity.
Well, so you're using those stabilizer muscles, and so as you get stronger, you're also working some of those, smaller muscles that have a tendency to get injured because, like I said, the other muscles get disproportionately stronger.
Right. This one was the same, I think, 4 sets.
So did it the exact same way. Let's see if this was that final explosive set. Yep,
Boom.
Here it is. So you can see the difference in the rep speed. It just looks a little goofy. People aren't used to seeing someone work out fast, and they want to say, well, hey, that's bad form. If you were using free weights, absolutely. But when you're using bands, it's just a completely different feeling. You can tell by the look on my face. I'm dying there.
That's not just for show. You're
No.
actually literally dying.
Yeah, and I that was the cool thing about filming it the way we did is I didn't stop. We weren't talking. It was just, go in there, get my workout done. So here we're going over into our final superset. So I started off here with just a regular flat push-up. So the other was a decline, then it was an incline. So now it's a flat push-up right in the sand with the band. 10, 12 of those, you're really feeling it. All right, so here's the superset right here. So the first one, we went ahead and we did a press to the front, still at an angle, pressing to the center, but up to the top to work our upper chest. Then the other one, we came from down low. Now this one, I'm turning my body more parallel to the band because what I'm looking for in this one is range of motion. So we talked about earlier how your chest pulls your arm across your body. So the more you can pull your arm across your body, the more you can fully contract that muscle. And that's a problem with a lot of chest exercises. If you press, your arm only goes so far across your body. Like bench press, you can see it's limited as opposed to, say, a cable fly where you're bringing it all the way in. But even then, on a cable fly, your hands are hitting together. A cable crossover, same thing, your hands are limited. But on a single like this is one of my favorite exercises with a cable machine in the gym. I used to talk about this, and this is just a band version of the same thing. I'm squeezing all the way across my body and really maximizing that range of motion and therefore the contraction. So let's check that out.
Yep. And while we're going through it, I'm going to ask you, will this give your that wider look to your chest? What are you trying to accomplish here with actually just the look and more of the physique part of it?
What I'm looking for is, like I said, that peak contraction. I want to feel that muscle contract fully. If I told you to flex your arm as hard as you could, you wouldn't, put your arm halfway and flex it. You would, ball it up as hard as you. That's what I'm looking for. I'm just looking for that peak contraction. And a lot of times when people are doing chest, so like I said, when they're doing bench, they'll feel it on the outer portion of their pec. A lot of times, most people don't feel that good, strong contraction right here in the center of your chest. If you were a bodybuilder and you were trying to pose and really just bring out all the definition in your chest, you would do a most muscular, and you'd really get in here nice and tight, and you would squeeze. And there you would feel the inner part of your chest fully contract. Now, people say, oh, you can't contract the outer part of your chest different than the inner part. I kind of disagree because it all comes down to feel. If you don't feel it on the inside, then that muscle hasn't fully contracted.
Right.
So I would agree with them that in a fully contracted position, yes, you can't separate the two, but in a partially contracted position, you're never going to feel that peak contraction, which means you're not going to feel it in all areas of the muscle. So that's what I'm chasing here is just a peak contraction.
And even 25 years of working out, you're still placing your hand right on your chest so you can feel that contraction.
Always. I'm chasing just that peak contraction. I want to feel that muscle just ball up nice and tight. You can see this from the back now, but you can see the range of motion. See how far my arm is going across my body there. Those clouds. Come on. That's picturesque right there. Why wouldn't you want to work out outside?
Our friends in the Northeast right now are just like, fuck you guys.
That's okay. That's okay. But you know what? That's what it's all about. Why do you get in shape in the first place? You get in shape so you can go outside and, go to the beach and take off your shirt or whatever, go enjoy life. So why not work out outside and enjoy life in the process? So for me, doing this, going outside and working out this way, I'm getting more than just a workout. This is my downtime.
Yeah.
I'm really,
I mean, look, even when we were filming this, we weren't even talking to you. We were just kind of letting you do your thing. You can really tell, especially out here, you feel at peace. And I think this is our superset we're talking about, where it's the fast. Now it's time to go.
This might be the explosive one.
Yep, I think this is the closer. Boom.
There it is.
After this, I'm curious to see what I can do with bands.
So you can see the pattern here. So 4 total sets per exercise. It's, with the exception of this high rep speed on my 4th and final set, it's really not that different than a traditional workout. You're seeing that I just went ahead and hit multiple exercises that really are familiar to regular exercises. That's what I'm doing, is I'm just taking regular exercises from the gym and I'm duplicating them. Okay, well, how can I do more of an incline movement? How can I do more of a flat bench movement? How can I do a decline movement? How can I mimic a fly? It's all the exact same thing, but with bands, I have ultimate flexibility here.
Yeah, I think just explaining it like that, because we'll be putting up all of these on YouTube. I think just showing the relationship between what you're speaking like a muscle head almost, upper chest, decline, incline. You can do that all with just 8 bands.
I think that's the problem, is, like I said before, people buy bands, they open them up, they take a look and say, now what? You get kind of lost, like, oh, what do I do? But if you treat it just the way you would treat a normal workout, approach it the exact same way. Whatever you're doing in the gym right now, do the same amount of exercise, do the same amount of sets, do the same amount of reps. You just have a little bit more flexibility now. I mean, even when I was training in the backyard in my house, for those couple months there, I was doing like the whole Muscle Garage series. Mm-hmm. Just took a bar, right? No dumbbells, just a bar and a plain bench. And it was cool, hit every single muscle group with just a bar, but it's still limited, right? I couldn't do incline unless I propped up the bench somehow. And
making it dangerous for yourself.
Making it dangerous. But here with bands, I can hit every single angle there is. I'm not limited by anything. I don't need any kind of equipment.
Well, what's our next workout? Do you already know what they'll be seeing next week that they can tune into?
We'll make sure that we go through and we'll cover every single body part. So we'll do a full workout. We'll break it down the same way. We'll go through every single exercise that I do and my logic for doing it. We'll break it down the exact same way. And I think that's what people are looking for. Say, okay, just give me the options here. And once you start playing around with it, you realize, oh, wait a second, there's all kinds of things I can do, and you start getting ideas.
Is there a leg day with bands?
Oh yeah, there's a leg day.
Okay.
Matter of fact, I just did leg day yesterday. So yesterday was my.
And is it you know how leg day is around here, and everybody, the infamous leg day? Are you gonna feel the same way? Are you gonna have the baby deer legs?
Oh yeah, almost any exercise that you can think of with a machine or with free weights, you can duplicate with bands. Sometimes it just takes a little more creativity.
We're basically pumping out 2 videos a week. One of them is our training stuff. That's stuff that you guys like, a little more advanced training style with using bands, which is incredible. And our just regular inside, just picking James' brain, the James Grage theory, I like to call it. Just so thank you guys for tuning in. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them below. Don't forget to subscribe, because James won't ask you to, but please do. Make sure to check out James on Instagram as well. He's always live in the stories, and I've forced him to just post a little bit more on there. So you guys will be seeing a lot of content from us. Any feedback is good feedback. Thank you guys again.
Peace.